Me.
Got it.
Got it.
All right. So, winter field day. Oh. Let me find my mouse. Where did there it is. Okay. So winter field day. It was about 2 weeks ago now. Was somewhat successful, I will say. I'll start it off with that. We'll touch on the highlights, what we did, what we changed. So it took place January 28th through the 29th. Think about that for a second because of the UTC day rollover in the middle of it. It was the last weekend of January. The official contest hours were 2 to 2, same as field day for us. We operated out of a cabin, set up stations beginning Friday evening. There was about 3 to 4 of us doing the setup Friday evening, and then Saturday we finished setting up, obviously because it gets dark pretty quickly in the middle of winter. We decided to operate at Brighton Rec Area. It allowed us to try a new location. This was an excellent location where we could stay overnight for the duration of the event. Last year we had done Proud Lake and ran into some RFI issues there. We could not track down the source of the issues. My guess is it has something to do with the commercial power coming into the place, that there's something going on with the underground cabling and it was just affecting us. Surprising, but it's a one weekend event. So we said, let's try Brighton Rec Area. As you can see, that's a picture of the inside of the cabin there. It's mostly bunks inside. There is some table space. Outside of the little cabin does sleep 20 in it. I wouldn't want to be in there with 20 other people, but for field day and other events, it was fine. The pros of the cabin, very comfortable operating environment. Did have a large field for antennas. As I said, noise free. Doesn't cost that much more to rent versus a shelter. The downside of that, I'll say right now, is a shelter rental is all day. So it's from park open to park close. A cabin rental starts at 4 in the afternoon to noon the next day. So, but we did get a little variance on time. It was isolated from regular park traffic, so we didn't have people walking through our antenna field, that kind of stuff. That's also a double-edged sword where we're more away from the public, not as many visitors. Also qualifies as a POTA event, so works great for that. Why did these seem out of order? I must have dragged one around by accident. Okay, the cons, park fee, entrance applies for anyone attending. Most people in Michigan, I think, have just buy it when they buy their registration, but if not, it's like $10 for the year, I think, is what the price is. Might have gone up.
Do they do it by the day?
No, unfortunately, they don't do the day anymore, because the day is like, they don't even give you a window tag anymore. It just goes right on top of your tag on your license plate, and they just have a sticker that has a P printed on it.
It's like $11 a year, I think.
I think you can only buy daily if you're out of state. The antenna field was somewhat smaller than our previous operating locations. It was a little bit harder in winter field day setting up. Obviously, we had a very 6 inches of snow out there and very frozen ground, which we learned the hard way. The other downside is there's no utility there, power, so we have to we must make all the power we need on site for coffee, lighting, any of that. So talking about power, we used a Honda EU 2200 generator. Very quiet for the entire event. We had this sitting outside the back of the cabin, maybe 10, 15 feet away. You couldn't even hear it inside most of the time. It was about 400 watts, not including the coffee maker, and that's on the high side. We probably averaged even less. Lewis, what'd you say we used? About 5 gallons, if that?
About probably closer to 3.5, maybe
So
three
3.5
and a half,
gallons.
4 gallons tops, because there's still, yeah, I'd say about 3.5 gallons probably total.
So operated the entire weekend running 3.5 gallons of gas. So it was very fuel efficient. Kind of cool. We had Bluetooth monitoring of the wattage, not truly live. There is a little bit of a delay as it calculates it out, but you could see as you were running 100 watt, FT8 calling CQ, it would be going up and down a little bit. The weather, yeah, as I said, we had about 6 inches of snow starting before the weekend. Friday night's overnight's temperature was -9. The cabin heat works very well. They have 2 propane heaters inside the thing. One's probably north of 110,000 BTU. The other one's probably around 70 at either end of the cabin. If the thermostats were anything to go by, if you set the thing to max, you could get it north of 80 inside. And be in a t-shirt and going, this isn't right.
And they're very quiet too. There was no noise at all. It was just all convection, and they worked really well. It stayed pretty nice inside.
The ground, as I said, was frozen solid. Masts needed to be lashed to volleyball court posts, picnic table. We had a few technical difficulties trying to get set up with that. Made it a little bit more difficult to operate without interfering with each other. Now, we never really did have much interference. There was a few bands where the club doesn't have filters, or we didn't have personal filters for the bands. 10 meters being the example. Now granted, there was nothing on 10, but if someone on another band was calling CQ on CW, I could hear him in 10 when I tried 10 the one time. As I said, the inside of the cabin was very comfortable. I do have an idea for ground stakes. I am going to attempt to try it. I saw this later. 3/8 inch they're timber bolts for doing landscaping. They're about 12 inches long, and you can drive them in with a drill. So I'm gonna go get a couple and try them in my front yard and see if they go through the frozen ground. Set up inside the cabin, large cabins equipped with bunks to sleep 20, 2 large tables and benches. Lewis operated on a small portable table after we drug one of the bunks out of the way. They are movable. I don't like moving them. I don't want to move another one of those things.
Yeah, they're pretty solid.
They're solid wood made out of like 6x6 posts for the posts, and yeah, they're well north of 400 pounds would be my guess. You aren't stealing one. Let me put it that way. Me and Mike shared one table, and then Jen and a couple other people were on one of the other tables. We had slid them around a little bit. Enough room for the operators without crowding, enough room for the visitors, So this is Lewis's station. There was a bunk where it was, so we just slid it to the other side. There's also, I don't think it's pictured, but we had the Wi-Fi router running on 12 volt DC, no AC adapter in the line.
You can kind of see the wire up a lot to the right of the window. There's the little black line. It was sitting up on top of the curtain rod thing. You could see the wire going down to the power pole.
Yeah.
right there. Yeah, but just barely.
Yep. Here's the other two stations. So, we had two here operating, one here, heaters here, there's a built-in, oops. Okay, sensitive.
How'd you get the power in?
So we, the doors don't perfectly seal to the ground. So there was enough gap that we could, did we run it under the door, Lewis, or did we go?
No,
through?
you see that thick yellow cord on the left there?
Yeah,
That all the windows open, they all have screens, but the screens pull away. So we just ran that cord. It's a 10 gauge extension cord. It goes through, and then you can see we
okay.
put it up in the rafters, and then everything plugged into that.
Yeah, that's right. Sorry, I forgot.
And then
We
you can
tried
see
the door.
It was, the cord was just a little bit too big to slip under the door, so we put it through the window, and then
Yeah,
you could see all the wires draped in the rafters. The black is the coax, and you could see how we had, cords.
yeah. So one window we brought in the power, and then the other end, we brought all the coax through it. The screens they're fixed screens to the outside of the cabin. So they're just a wooden frame with the screen material attached, but they're only screwed in like 4 places. So you can slip it out a little bit and sneak the coax behind it, and then
Yep.
still sealed up. There's looking the other way. That window at the end there is where we brought all the coax in and out. It was the most convenient, and then we just ran it through the rafters. Keep trip hazards out of the way and all and stuff. For tall people, there were still head hazards.
Yeah.
Looking out that way, yeah, you can see we had the window open and stuffed with a few rags to keep the cold air from coming in. Really didn't notice it again. So antennas, we ran Larry's 40-meter vertical, again, performed excellent. We ran an aerial 51 off-center fed dipole and an inverted V, and then a band hopper 4, which is a 80 through 20 on 80, 40, 30, and 20 as a linked dipole, and we configured it for 80 meters in inverted V. And then a PL259 homebrew ground plane 2-meter antenna for repeater talk-in. Aerial view of the site. So little hard to see in here, but this is the part.
Would it help if we turned off the overhead lights?
We can try. I don't know. Okay.
Well, that's not terrible. That's okay.
There we go. Okay, so right here is the parking lot where all the cars are. Back here is actually the cabin. We set Larry's vertical up here. There was
How did you support the radials?
for the vertical.
Yeah,
So I was able to, in these 6 inches of snow, get the wooden stakes to just stay in there, because they don't actually really have tension, so much tension on them, because you're not holding those radials like taut
right.
as guides or anything. So we were able to just set them in there and
Gotcha.
hold them up, and they stayed all weekend.
Gotcha.
For the aerial 51, we just tied firewood to the end of the stake and laid it on the ground, and that
Yeah, that's
same
what
thing
I
with your
ended.
band hopper.
Yep, and then both of those the supports for the band hopper and the
I have pictures too.
yep. So here
There we
is
go.
the aerial 51. We ratchet strapped it to the picnic table to hold it up and support it. Kind of can see Larry's vertical here in the foreground, and then right here was the band hopper for 80-meter operation.
Did you have a balun on Larry's antenna?
No, never have.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
as I said before, the official times for the cabin rentals, we check in at 4 p.m. on Friday. We had to check out at noon on the next day. So we had reserved 2 nights. So it would have been Sunday. We would have had to check out at noon. We got a permission to stay till 3, which we were actually out of there well before 3. Just due to conditions, as I'll talk about in a bit. Total cost was 188, and the club covered half, and then the others was split with us just due to not actually operating Friday night and stuff of that nature. Pre-testing Friday night after we gotten set up, both me and Lewis had ran some stations on POTA. The results were excellent. I was not expecting what happened. I did north of 105 QSOs in an hour.
On POTA or?
On POTA.
Okay.
Yeah.
Friday night on POTA, I started calling CQ on 40 meters and ran an hour straight, basically a nonstop pileup. At the end, my brain was mush, my hand was mush, and I said, I am done. And I literally, people were still calling, and I said, nope, I'm done.
Probably other field-based stations doing the same thing, right?
No, we'll talk about that in a minute. Starter winter field day. So before that, I'll back up a little bit. We also did some pre-testing Saturday morning, came out, ran some more POTA. Got on 20, made some contacts. There was a 15-meter contest going on in Belgium. Made a few contacts out of that. So everything seemed to be working good. No interference, no antenna problems. Bands were wide open. Winter field day started about 2 p.m. Started calling with very few takers.
Yep.
The QSO rate was nowhere near previous years, even including what we did in summer field day. And it was not that the bands were packed. You couldn't, at some point in 40, we got to the point where we normally get in Michigan, which I've noticed in the past few years, is 40 gets packed to the point where you can't even slot yourself into anything. You know, there's a hole in there. There's a point you could be calling, but there's just people 2.5 below you, 2.5 up, and you just can't make anything work. Mike in the middle ran some FT8 just to test propagation, because FT8 is not allowed in winter field day as a digital mode. But we were able to see the propagation map, no problem getting out. Places were hearing us all over the world. So it wasn't so much a propagation thing. We continued running winter field day throughout Saturday, had a few visitors coming in and out throughout the day. With that being said, I was running some 80-meter late at night, figured, okay, we'll just switch over to 80 come 6 o'clock. Actually, I got back from dinner, 7-ish, sat down, started running some 80-meter, and I ran for about an hour and a half and got about 10 people. And I was calling and calling and calling. And I'm like, okay, maybe 80 is just dead. Maybe it just went short. It's just dead. I fired up, said, all right, I'm going to call POTA for 10 minutes, see what happens. 10 minutes made 10 QSOs. So I'm like, it's not a propagation issue, radio issue, antenna issue. What I think happened, and I'll talk about this in a minute as we go on.
Interest in field day.
Exactly. So Sunday, we continued in the morning calling CQ winter field day, very low rate. Jen had come out. I can't think, why can't I think of your name right now? Josh, thank you. Josh was out. We ended up just saying the rate is so low for some of these new people to even try and get their feet wet in understanding what's going on. Just run a POTA activation. You're out here, you're in a park, we'll let you use the antennas. We're just gonna run a POTA activation. So we had more success operating CQ POTA than we did CQ winter field day.
Yeah.
And I'll say it was under 48 hours, but closer to 48 hours, we made 525 QSOs in CQ POTA between all of us. And we only did 307 or 306 with CQ field day in less time. Just some of the maps. This is Jen's map using 40 meter for an hour on CQ POTA. And, you know, that's, you know, there's 40 or 50 contacts right there. So the rate was up very, very close to what I've seen in past field days, what I've ran in past summer field days. One of the things I'll say about that is I was watching the Facebook group for winter field day while there, and there was a lot of new operators out there, which is good. It was getting people in the hobby, but they were running 1-2 hours and saying, well, I made 20 QSOs, I'm done. Oh, I made 20 QSOs, I'm done. And they just decided to run an hour or two of a contest, and it was the end of it. So, you know, you get the big gun stations out there, which I heard many others just constantly calling CQ and like, nope, worked it 2 hours ago. And I'd listen in for a minute and they'd have 5 minutes of dead air, just calling CQ. So,
Yep.
you know, there was a lot of big stations out there that set up, or clubs that set up, that just, you know, the amount was not there to operate. This is Lewis's map of stations. This is Friday and Saturday morning. Calling even some DX in Italy and other countries over there. We did have some new ham show up. There was a ham from the wow, I was gonna say Clarkston, but that's wrong. You'll come to me in a bit.
What was her name? Michelle, right? She emailed
Yes,
me.
Michelle.
Was it Clarkston? I don't think
No,
she's
it
from the
was-
club, but I think that's where she lives. I think
Clausen.
she
She was from Clausen.
Clausen, that's right. Yeah, Clausen.
Yep. She came from the Clausen area. New Ham just got her tech and general or tech couple months ago, so wanted to learn some new stuff. Few SLAARC members came out, few Arrow members came out, couple LARC members came out. So Arrow was also operating at the same time from Brighton Rec Area at one of the other cabins. Straight line distance is about a mile from us, so there was no interference. We never worked them, never hurt them.
We were really worried though that they were gonna.
Yeah,
We had a
but
lot of worry at the beginning.
it was not a problem. And we did visit them at the end of field day, and it was a long drive up there. The cabin we rented is the closest cabin coming into Brighton Rec Area. They rented almost the farthest cabin, and it's Google Maps says it's a 10-minute drive, and it's a 10-minute drive down the road. So going back, last year, again, we did about 300 QSOs at Proud Lake with interference. I think we would have had a better year without the interference. We were fighting a lot of RFI, finding room, having to work around it. This year, like I said, 307 contacts, little bit better in the score. We worked a few more bands, we're able to operate, a little wider. I don't remember if we called ourselves 3I because we had planned on running 3 stations. And we actually, this year, we did truly run 3 stations at the same time. Last year, we did not run 3 stations at the same time, even though we called 3I. We had planned on it and conditions just did not work out and timing didn't work out to get a 3rd station set up. So some of the results here. So as you can see, the rate, the first hour of a contest was probably our best rate. And as the day dragged on, it dropped off very considerably. And I think that goes along with what I was seeing on Facebook posts of people saying, yeah, I ran 1-2 hours, got my contacts in, decided I don't want to be operating anymore, or I've had my fun. Again, 40 meters was our best band, even though the conditions on 40 were probably the worst at some points just due to the amount of people on it. I don't know what this is, points versus band. Oh, okay, this was modes. So we did operate I'll say all modes. We got CW, sideband, and digital in. And again, the hour and the points, as you can see, just cascading down. We had some peaks come back as bands picked up, like going from as 80 opened up again, we could get some more contacts in, and then a little 20, but it wasn't high rate as we've seen. Did do pretty good on sections. Did get California out there, a lot of Texas, a lot of the normal states. The West Coast really did not come in, did not really hear them. But that's pretty typical, I think, for us. We weren't running N3FJP, so I can't put the little cute map up of all the states, and I don't know how to the program Larry found for N1MM generates it. I didn't have time to play with that, so we don't have a state-by-state map. As I said before, we did 307 QSOs for Winter Field Day. The combined total for POTA was at or around 525 for all of us, for 5 POTA operators. I think we had operate, Mike, me, yeah, 5 of us operating for POTA. So where that leads us for next year as changes. The event committee decided that next year we're not going to pursue Winter Field Day due to the lack of interest, not in the club, but interest as a whole in Winter Field Day. But we are going to still do a winter event. The weekend before Winter Field Day was POTA Support Your Parks weekend. So we're going to participate in that. That does allow one other thing that Winter Field Day doesn't allow. It allows operating FT8. Now, Winter Field Day, you could use JT8 call or whatever the other clones of FT8 are, but you can't use FT8 or FT4. POTA doesn't care, we can run either of those. So it does allow some other showcasing of modes and some other operating modes. So the plan will be to potentially stay at Brighton Rec area, potentially look at some other places that are out there and run the Support Your Parks weekend. Whether that's the full weekend or part of it, we don't know yet, but that will be the plan.
It's really just more fun because like Sunday, I even had the voice recorder on my radio, so it would just transmit my CQ every 15, 20 seconds, whatever it was. And you're calling and calling and calling and nothing. And then, like Eric said earlier, we would do a test where I just said, okay, I'm going to do a POTA on Sunday. And within, like Eric said, within 10 minutes, you had 10 to 15 contacts just like that. So it's more fun as an operator to rack up contacts instead of just sitting there calling CQ Winter Field Day and getting nothing. So.
And the volume of contacts you were getting when you were calling CQ POTA there was a pile up.
It was
And it was
huge,
a-
yeah. It was more fun, more fun.
Yeah. So the next events for SLAARC, so the third weekend in April, April 16th and 17th, which is unfortunately Easter weekend, I will say that now for anyone not looking at their calendars, is the Spring Support Your Parks event for POTA. Also on the 16th is the Michigan QSO party. If people did not see, so I'll talk about that. Well, I'll finish this off. SLAARC does not have any plans. The event committee is not putting anything together for either the Michigan QSO party or Support Your Parks. Someone wants to put something together ad hoc, we can talk about that, but a few of us are not going to be around to actually do a formal big thing. So, but I was going to talk about the Michigan QSO party. The QSO party is going through some changes at the moment. So let me bring up, I don't think I can bring this up on the screen because I don't remember where this came from, but I will verbally talk about it and I'll forward it around to everyone.
Yep.
Top one. So a new Michigan QSO party committee was established earlier this year, and goes through the makeup of it, but they are, they started last October. They plan to finalize everything in the next couple weeks for the Michigan QSO party. There are some rule changes.
Still Mad River?
Running it?
Yeah.
No, I do not believe so. It is there's a 5-panel committee that is run by Ken Meyer, W8MJ.
Oh, yeah.
He's the chairman, and there's 4 other people as committee members, and then a couple supporting members.
He's local, isn't he?
I believe so.
Yeah.
So they're going to continue to open and monitor and make changes as needed. But they've found that there was a lot of changes wanted in the community for how the QSO party was run and operated. So I'll highlight the changes.
Eric,
Yeah,
can you put that into a document and
Is-
send it to me, and then I'll send it to everybody?
yeah, there's a PDF I can send you from them.
Super.
Okay, so the changes beginning in 2020, we made changes. They changed the plaque give outs. There's gonna be 12 plaques now. They've dropped a few for Rookie of the Year, multi-mobile, and they've gone with just one mobile category. And the biggest changes here are only one county operation at a time. So no multi-county line operating. So you used to be able to drive across the line and change. They're still not allowing digital modes this year. They said that could change in the future. They're dropping the serial numbers and using RST QTH for the contact exchange. They added a school category for school clubs. You now have 7 days for log submission after the contest ends. The reason for that is they want to publish final scores within 30 days of contest completion.
I'll believe that when I see it.
Well, they're automating it too in the background. So
Good.
from what I understand, they are now allowing spotting assistance. They've decided that it will not affect the scores no matter which way, if you spot or not spot. So they're allowing that. And they are not no operations on VHF, UHF yet. They still will allow paper logs because they're very few. So that was the big changes. Mike, you sent that to me. So do you have any comments to add that I may have missed?
I think they're going to clarify, or there's a rover category that needed some attention. And
Yes.
that's going to be applicable to those of us who may want to do POTA in combination with the Michigan QSO party. Because that way, if I go to a park somewhere in a county, I could run at that park as a rover, set up my station, and then I could pull stakes up, go to another park in another county and continue to do that throughout the party, QSO party. And I would be in my own category. I think the rovers and mobiles are competing in the same category though.
Yeah, we'll have to read the rules and see what they say, but that's probably going to be the biggest changes. It sounds like it's hard to tell if they're going to allow how you're going to do multi-county operation, or if they are allowing it.
I don't think that you're allowed to straddle county lines. You have to be in one county only at a time. And I don't know that I've heard any mobile stations doing multi-county anyway in previous years. So I'm not sure who was doing it. So if it was even been done in a while. They're also doing a complete revamp of the website I think towards the end of the month. So they're doing a lot of stuff in the background, and it's probably going to have more details to follow, but hopefully we'll get some more participation and breathe some new life into it.
Yep.
I'm planning on participating myself, but I'll be up at the cabin up north, so I won't be here as the club. But yeah, as always, you can contribute your personal score to the club call by selecting that in the website or on the ADIF. I'm sure they'll touch on that as well.
The other thing, I just looked it up because I realized it wasn't in the presentation. We had 16 participants come out, visitors and participants for Winter Field Day for the club. So I'll touch on the rest of it now. We decided that there was a lot of benefits to operating out of the cabin this year for Winter Field Day. So we're going to attempt, I talked to Mike, WAXH, before doing this, but we decided that we want to try changing the summer field day location to Brighton Rec Area this year. Couple of the benefits that make the choice a little beneficial. One is the grass is mowed for us and it doesn't turn swampy there. We don't have to, figure out how we're going to get up there with the wind, rain, whatever comes that week and makes it a mess. Two, we're not trying to set up shelters in the wind, rain, whatever else is up there. The shelter is already fixed. They do allow, in the notes, it said we can set a secondary shelter up outside. Obviously, you can't sleep in it, but you can have one set up out there. I don't know anyone sleeping for Winter Field Day or Field Day, but that's just, my thing. Yes, the antenna field is a little smaller, but we proved last year we don't need the largest of large setups. It will take some shoehorning to get it set up and working in there, but I think we'll have the capability to do it. It'll be a lot better than now when the ground is rock hard and we're forced to use existing points that are there to make it fit. The other thing is we don't have to rent the porta potty, so some of that cost that we're spending there rolls right into it. Now it is a little more expensive because normally when we rent the field up there, they just take our check as a deposit and give it, they just hold it, they don't even cash it, and they just give it back to us voided. So I went ahead and booked it now before it filled up because we're within the 6-month window of being able to book it for June. And there was 1 week taken in the middle of June, but field day was open. I'm like, okay, we have to take this now before we go ahead. So we ended up booking it. We went for 3 nights instead of 2 like we did for summer field day or winter field day, I mean. So we have it through Monday at noon. That way we're not stressed for tearing down, right? Trying to get a variance, getting torn down in an hour to get out of there before 3 so they can clean it for 4 o'clock.
Especially that's when the storm that always comes in, it comes in then.
Yes, so with that being said, we booked it for the three nights. The nice thing about a state park is Sunday night is actually cheaper because they count it as a weekday. So it's I'm going off memory here, so bear with me a second here while I do the math in my head to get the okay. Oops. Okay, so it's normally 90 a night for the cabins during the weekend. And then they tack on an $8 service fee for booking with them for processing. Not gonna argue, whatever. So it works out to be 94 a night. Sunday night or any of the weekdays is actually 68 a night for the cabins. So, and we made it in before they raised the rates. So next year it's going to go up at all state parks. They've decided they're raising the rates minimally. It's only like $2 or $3 a night, but it still was a rate hike. But they said if you're booked before April 1st, they're honoring old prices. So
what place did you reserve?
same cabin we were in. It, you know, plenty of room. As I said, it's a little smaller inside, but it, with the bunks taking up a bit of the room, but there was still plenty of good operating space, plenty of good visiting space. Probably the plan will be put a small shelter up outside. We can have a little more visiting space. Couple of the other benefits, there's a fire pit there with wood stock, so we can have a, you know, evening bonfire. There was a charcoal grill, we can grill out there kind of thing. So there's a more room for social activities as well as operating there. More things that can be done there, so.
You said that obviously we won't have to get the porta potties. What was the porta potty costing us?
120-ish a year.
Okay, so in essence, it's a little more than what we're doing, but we get a lot more for it.
We get a lot more for it, yes. So, and like I said, there is a porta potty built in there, so we don't have to walk far for that.
What's the parking situation in there?
So it is a dirt parking lot. Are you thinking of Bruce's RV? Is that what you were wondering, Steve?
Actually, no, I hadn't. I just I remember from one we did previously, there was a problem. They only allowed 8 cars or something. And
so we will have to talk and work with them on that. We're not 100% sure. There were some details still to be worked out. We can get out of it, and there's a I think it's like $10 cancellation fee or something if we cancel before time.
Eric, can you go back? There was a slide, I think, where you had the aerial overview of the antennas.
Yeah.
So it's a pretty large parking lot and a long driveway, Steve. So I think we shouldn't have any issue for parking.
Is there
And
any
There it is.
prohibition?
It's a pretty large spot there. And then that driveway, I don't know how many yards long that driveway is, but
Is
there's,
there any rule against having an RV in there?
We don't know yet, Bruce. It's on my list to start asking the questions and working with the park manager on this. But what we didn't want to have happen is start all the discussions and find out it gets booked up for the weekend we wanted it. So we wanted to get the reservation in and hold it first and then work backwards out of it.
Where in that dark blob is the actual cabin?
The actual cabin is here.
The other dark blob is the parking area.
This is
Yeah.
the parking area and the road.
The blob is a pine tree.
Yes, there's a big pine tree right here,
Oh, okay.
but
Okay.
this
you
is,
guys, you can look it up on Google Earth or Google Maps. Do we have a
Sure.
pin you could find? It's pretty easy that you guys, everyone can look at it, but it's a pretty big. Let me see if I can find it here. Let me pull it up.
I was just gonna pull it up in the background.
Yeah, okay.
Is there any problem with running a generator all night?
We
didn't
ran the,
have-
yeah, we ran it all night. Well, I mean, I stayed there overnight. I stayed there Friday and Saturday night. I typically stayed up till 1 or 2 in the morning. And I ran the generator. There's really no one else around.
The other cabins are pretty far away.
Yeah, and that Honda generator that we had, it's so quiet.
Yeah.
I probably wouldn't want to run one of the louder generators all night, you know?
But
I
we
think the
weren't
one
really
had
hurting on
was-
power either with the Honda generator either, so.
I mean,
Whose Honda generator did you use?
it was mine, that
Oh.
Honda 2200i, it's
Okay, I didn't.
2200 watts maximum, 1800 watts nominal, and we had a slide where we were watching the power consumption and it was probably around 400 watts is what we usually use.
Okay, come on, Google. Quit being. I'm trying to do this off angle and it's probably the problem. 2D, okay. Brighton Rec Area. Zoom in. There's the beach. It's like I zoomed just a hair and it's,
This while he's doing this location as well is pretty close to the beach area.
Google has McGizzy rustic cabins as a location.
yeah, that's what I'm trying to get to.
Just put it in the search bar.
You're close. It's okay. Go back. There's Murray Lake, so you have to go a little just further south than that.
There we go.
Bishop Lake. Yeah, Bishop Lake
Yeah.
Complex.
So-
Yeah, you got it.
The road back there, like I said, it's a little bit of a long winding road.
There you go, McGizzy. Yep, you can see it's a long. And if you look just to the top left there, that Kenosha Trail, that's where the beach and all that's at. But yeah, you can see there's a pretty large parking lot there.
I don't know if this is any better. This is probably where we grabbed the picture originally, but that's the
Looks like
part.
all sorts of parking single file along the road too.
Yeah, so the cabin's tucked in the
Yeah.
corner there, and there's that big square area, and then like you just said, Steve, there's a long driveway with
There is
plenty
a-
of space.
There is a point we have to watch coming back this way, just so everyone's aware. There's a hilltop yurt that's up there. They have a driveway, so I think we'll be fine as long as we don't block the driveway. And it really
Yeah, we-
depends, you know,
Yeah,
on how many people are coming out for field day, you know, and I can't ask that now. I know everyone here would raise their hand saying, yeah, we'll be there. And, you know, come June 22nd, you know, it's gonna change. So
Do you think we could fit
Oh.
20 cars in that spot? Would you guys, Mike and Eric, would you say like 20 cars probably? They're more?
No, that would be tight. You know, if somebody wanted to carpool up, you can probably drop your car at the beach and the big parking lot there and carpool
Yeah,
up
it's-
if you wanted.
And it's a 5-minute drive, so if we had to, we could, you know, hey, park down here, call on the HT and we'll come get you kind of thing, you know, and shuttle up and down. So I think we'll be able to manage it and make it work. So, you know, part of the thing will be, the next steps on this will be talking obviously with park manager and working out some things. Again, our biggest thing was we wanted to make sure the reservation was in. Obviously, if we have to, we can always fall back to the park where we've been past few years, but we were just trying to try something different, see what this provides that doesn't, and see what the club reaction is. So
Yeah, at least we're locked in now. We at least have a spot that's reserved and then, you know, that kind
Yep.
of things.
Can you pull up the altitude data on Google Maps here?
maybe.
I'm on Google Earth right now. I'm gonna see if I can find the
I think if I do this and I tap it,
Right click.
oops. I know I got out of 2D. Let me get back into 2D.
Digital lat launch.
Yeah, it does not give me the altitude. And I don't have
It
Google.
may be in the lower right-hand corner.
No.
What's the double up?
This is Google Maps. You need to go to Google Earth, I think, to get the altitude.
Yeah,
I'm on Google Earth,
Yeah.
just so everyone knows that parking lot, it's 87 foot long by 55 feet wide is the parking lot.
yeah.
That's just,
You might be interested in knowing that if you just go to Google Maps and type in McGizzy rustic cabin,
mhm.
it has it. It comes right up.
Oh, yeah. The altitude.
Does it have the altitude?
Well, yeah, you don't have to look for it.
You're right. Yeah, it's a point that's easily found in there. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Yeah. But it doesn't have the altitude
Yeah,
listed.
no,
So
I just found it. McGizzy is at about 299 meters. And compared to our traditional field day, which is at 321. So, you know, there's a little bit of difference, but I don't think it's a huge amount because Brighton it is a little hilly. And so I think it's on one of the higher spots within Brighton.
So there you go, Bob, 291 meters.
Speaking of antennas and thoughts on towards that, so I guess since it is a little tighter, I might be thinking about an off-center fed dipole and running a couple stations via a duplexer. So if anybody's had the experience with that, we might be interested in hearing about it.
Steve?
We also have to go talk to the KMRD. He has some experience with it as of this year. They ran it when he moved to Texas. He's been with the club down there. They ran it. One of the
Yeah,
guys.
they did. Yeah.
One of the guys in that club works or knows someone in Buddy Pole and has had for the past few years, probably serial number or prototype number 1 of the hex beam that Buddy Pole is now coming out with. Officially going to launch this September, but it's a portable hex beam, but they ran that on a triplexer. So they were running 3 bands on it. So I was going to ask.
Would you guys did we reach out to him at all?
Not yet. It's on my list.
Okay. I'll do it right now. I'll just
Okay.
So it's a
put it on the
multi-
Slack channel. Let's see.
And they ran all the bands through the triplexer?
Yep.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's been something we have talked about in the past for the beam here because we have a tri-band beam. So, you know, maybe not a true, you know, running 3 stations off of it simultaneously, but more like 2 stations where we could have a fixed 20 station and then a 10 and 15 meter station off beside, on it at the same time. So there is some things we have to work out and how it all works, but it's basically like the old duplexers for your dual band when they had, dual antennas, or you had 2 dual bands and you shove it through one. So
Just have to agree on its orientation too, because
Yeah.
they are directional.
yeah, well, you know what? 20's working that way, you're working that way. One station's just gonna be, is pointing that way.
Going along for the ride.
You're going along for the ride, So again, like I said, it is a little bit smaller of an area that we've had in the past, but it, at least for us during winter field day, we didn't have any issues. So, and we'll just have to work out band sharing and,
You try something new, you gotta, it's a crapshoot.
yep. So,
He posted a video on his channel, on his field day. I posted the link on the chat here if anyone wants to watch it.
okay.
His fun YouTube channel, so the videos that he makes, so.
A lot nicer than sitting in a utility trailer.
Yes, yes, yeah, that was one of the other nice things. It's, does anyone else have any other questions?
Just one comment. If we are serious about trying to do a duplexer, might be good sometime in the spring to go out to a park and set up one antenna and a couple of stations and see what happens.
Yep. That was kind of my thought, so.
Cool. Erica, any discussions that we need to have earlier rather than later to make this decision?
I think the biggest discussion is just talking with the park manager. I'd actually like to try and see if I can sit down and do a face-to-face with him, so and get something on the books. So I think that's the biggest one we need to have right now. Obviously, they approved us for Winterfield Day. It's going to be a few more people, but we'll see what they say. So
Do we know the park manager? As in, yeah, we know who he is and met him and talked to him.
We reached out to them to get the permit for, I reached out to them for the site permit, for us just to be open with them so they knew what we had. They seemed pretty easygoing. We asked for more time on Sunday because normal checkout time is noon, and they didn't hesitate. They said, sure, you can stay till 3. We have the name.
I just was curious because obviously somebody in the Livingston County Club works closely with them to arrange that ham camp, I think.
Yeah.
So
not they know of us. I've talked to Livingston County. They don't really work that close to arrange ham camp. Ham camp is more a,
you just make your reservation and show up, huh?
yeah.
Just individual reservations, just like any other campers. Yeah, there's nothing, facility related that I know of.
Yeah, no, I've talked to him about that. I would say at this moment, we have a more closer relationship with the park manager from Island Lake than Brighton, but we'll get there too. So I don't think we're starting over again, because I can always contact Island Lake to help me out, work with this guy. So
as a reference, yeah.
Yeah,
Reference point.
so but
So ham camp comes first, so by the time you get there, they're not gonna let you in.
I don't know. I may have to tell them not to let you guys in. So, but
It sure sounds nice to have a building there to start with.
You're real muffled, Steve. We can't understand you.
Sure sounds good to have a building there to start with.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, not having to set up those shelters, those tent, that's always a pain and it takes a lot of
And
effort.
worried
to do.
about whether they're gonna blow away or not.
yeah, and the
Yeah.
nice thing is, even if a rain and wind does come, we got some trees around us acting as a wind block. So it's not gonna be like we're up on the hill and we're getting 30-mile-an-hour winds constantly and the side of the tent's blowing in.
And lightning rods. you know.
Yes. Well, we still have bows.
We still do, but not as bad, but. And if you look at the map too, there's that other. There'll be a lot more people here in the summer because that beach is just. I mean, when
Yeah.
you come in off Bishop Lake Road, that's the mountain bike trailhead is there, the trailheads are there. For hiking, there's the beach.
Yeah.
There'll be a lot of traffic there.
Yep, so we may get, as we said, if we had to, we couldn't get everyone parked up here. This is one of the main parking lots right here as you're coming in. Big concrete area here. So we can obviously just, run a quick shuttle up and down and make it work kind of thing, so.
What's the walking distance or the distance back on that road from the other?
From the cabin,
Yeah, what?
I could do it really quick here with the thing, hold on.
About a quarter mile from the cabin's parking lot to the main road. And then probably another half of that again to the main parking lot, so.
If you cut the corner, it's about 1,800 feet-ish. So,
Third of a mile.
That's certainly walkable if you had to do it.
oh yeah, it's certainly walkable. So we'll make arrangements. Maybe some of us who are just gonna be there the entirety just end up parking down there to begin with. So we leave space for the visitors and work it
Yeah.
out, so.
A couple of weeks before, my son and I hiked a couple of the trails around there. So some of them are more rustic trails, but still a lot of fun. I suspect there's a good draw for hams with families. That the families could go and enjoy the park while they go ham it up.
Excuse me.
Yeah, we've camped there. My family, we've camped there at the campground of Murray Lake, the rustic, we've mountain biked there. We do the trails. There's a lot of other stuff to do there. It's a nice park.
Is that road there paved with asphalt?
Up to about here, but
Yeah.
everything else, the Bishop Lake Road out here, Bruce, is not paved.
Okay, and that, how do you come into the site from Bishop Lake Road?
Yeah, so I'll zoom out a little bit more here. So I went a little too far. This is Bishop Lake Road here, Bruce.
I see.
This is the campground. This is normal Bishop Lake campground here. The
Uh-huh.
pavement ends like right there at the start of that.
Uh-huh.
And then this is dirt down here, and then you gotta turn in, I'll zoom in so you can see the course into the,
So when you say dirt, you really mean an improved gravel road, right?
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
yeah,
And
Yeah,
this
They
is-
did a good job plowing it. It was plowed really well with the snow.
And this trail coming in, is that gravelled? Or you
it's,
on-
I
okay.
don't remember, because I haven't been up there in the
Well-
summer.
It's pretty solid. It's like, dirt road like you'd expect, really hard packed.
Right.
Country type
I'm
road. I mean,
already-
I've been there.
I'm pretty well anticipating that there will be a prohibition against any kind of RV there. Even in state parks, they limit you to 35 feet and mine is 45 feet. I'm not even allowed to enter a state park. So,
Couldn't you cut part of it off?
yeah, it'd be kind of an expensive proposition,
Sorry.
For
Bruce,
one
I couldn't
weekend, yeah.
Yeah, you could use a settling cutting torch, I suppose.
resist.
But don't
I
worry
go with
about that. I
Taba.
mean, I mean, we can ask and verify that that's the case, but you go ahead with your plans. I'm a very iffy thing for this summer anyway. I have no idea where I'm gonna be.
How long is
Yeah.
your RV, Bruce?
It's 45 feet. 40,000 pounds.
Okay, well, I will ask, like, but, yeah, we were gonna go ahead.
Don't
We were
scare
pl-
him.
Yeah, I won't.
Yeah, make sure he knows that, that, yeah, forget that,
Yeah,
But what about a small camper like my little A-frame, 20-foot long A-frame?
Yeah.
Could we park that somewhere on in the area of the cabin for an extra operating?
Another rule they've made it very clear is that you cannot drive beyond the parking lot. They made that very clear. In fact, we had to sign a separate document promising that we wouldn't leave the parking area.
Right. Yeah,
So
they don't want you.
we just carried everything from our cars over to the cabin.
Right. Yeah, they don't want you compressing, they don't want you
Yeah.
tearing up the ground there.
yeah. So I don't think we're gonna need a separate thing for an extra operating area. We ran 3A, 3I, well, 3A, I'll call it, pretty efficiently in there for winter field day. I think summer field day will be the same. We
And if
might,
the weather's nice, I don't see an issue with setting up a tent like we did before on the hill.
yeah, we
you
can,
know,
they said we can put a tent outside in the rules, so we'll probably just end up doing that if we move a station outside because someone wants to enjoy the full outside excitement. Well,
I mean, yeah, if it's nice, if it's nice out, I have one of those screen houses that you put over a picnic table.
Yeah.
It's open bottom for that. I mean,
But
depending
we'll
on
do
the weather,
more,
of course.
we'll do more planning as stuff comes, so we don't need to plan it out tonight, so.
But
Any
it's
other-
nice that it has the fire pit and the charcoal grill, and it's it's a nice.
Any other winter field day questions?
We've got about 6 minutes before we need to be out of this room.
Nice presentation.
Yeah, very good.